Did you know the entire global banking system is being rewired right now? By 2025, over 200 countries and 11,000 banks will be running on ISO 2022, a new financial messaging standard that changes how money moves forever. Most people have no idea, but this upgrade is what makes assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, ALGO, HBAR, IOTA, and QNT critical for the next financial era. These aren't meme coins, they're the infrastructure of the new digital economy. This is ISO 2022 and the new financial system. And in this deep dive, we're breaking down what it means for banks, investors, and the future of crypto. You're watching LTL Productions. Please, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the truth about the future of money. Section 1. The Global Shift. Why ISO 2022 matters for decades. The global financial system has relied on an outdated network to send money across borders. At the center of it all is SWIFT, the messaging system banks use to tell each other, "Hey, I'm sending money, here's how much, and here's who it's for." The problem? SWIFT was never designed for the digital age. It's clunky, slow, and incredibly limited in the information it can carry. If you've ever wondered why international wires take days and cost outrageous fees, this is the reason. It is not that banks can move money faster. It hangs that the language they use to talk to each other is broken. Now imagine a world where every single financial institution, from New York to Tokyo to London to Sao Paulo, speaks the same language. Not just the same words, but the same structure, the same formatting, the same ability to carry rich detail. That's exactly what ISO 2022 is creating. It isn't just an upgrade, it's a new universal language of money. Under ISO 2022, payment messages stop being vague and outdated. Instead of a cryptic limited wire message like $10,000 sent, banks can attach full details. Who's sending, who's receiving, why the payment is happening, the compliance data, the security verification, all in one structured format that machines can instantly read and act on. Think of it like upgrading from a pager in the 1990s to the latest iPhone. Same purpose, communicating, but a completely different world of capabilities. The implications are massive. The new standard means transactions can settle faster, cheaper, and with far more transparency. Fraud becomes easier to detect because data isn't fragmented. Compliance becomes streamlined because regulators can see the necessary information right in the message. Banks won't have to bolt on endless patchwork systems to meet modern demands. The standard itself will carry the detail. And because it's universal, a payment leaving the US Federal Reserve System can be instantly understood by a bank in Europe, Asia, or Africa without expensive translation in the middle. The timeline for adoption isn't hypothetical, it's already happening. In March 2023, SWIFT began its phased migration to ISO 2022. By 2025, most of the world's major financial systems, including the US Fedwire and Europe's Target 2, will be running on ISO 2022 messages. This means the plumbing of money itself is being rewired in real time. Whether the average person notices it or not, the biggest shift in financial infrastructure in half a century is happening behind the scenes. And here's where things get really interesting. Once the rails are upgraded, the system will need assets that can move as quickly and efficiently as the new messaging allows. You can't build a high-speed train network and then run horse-drawn carriages on it. The demand will be for assets that can settle in seconds, scale globally, and plug into ISO 2022 without friction. That's where a handful of digital assets come into play. Cryptocurrencies that were designed not to fight the financial system, but to fit right into it. This is why ISO 2022 is more than just bank stuff. It's the backbone of the new financial system. And if history has taught us anything, when the backbone of money changes, everything changes. Trade, investing, banking, even the role of currencies themselves. We are not just watching another tech update. We are watching the rules of money being rewritten. Section 2. The digital assets built for ISO 2022. When people hear about ISO 2022, they often think it's just a banking standard, some back-end technical detail that doesn't matter to them. But that's where the story gets exciting. Because it directly connects to crypto. And not every cryptocurrency makes the cut. In fact, out of the thousands of digital assets floating around, only a small group are either designed to be ISO 2022 compliant or have aligned themselves with this new messaging language. And those few assets may become the backbone of the digital financial system. Let's start with the most obvious, XRP. Ripple designed XRP not as a meme coin or speculative token, but as a bridge asset for cross-border payments. It moves value in 3 to 5 seconds at negligible cost, and it scales to handle thousands of transactions per second. For banks dealing with trillions daily, that's not just convenient, it's necessary. And because ISO 2022 is about data-rich messages, XRP's ledger is perfectly suited to carry settlement details seamlessly. That's why Ripple has spent years partnering with banks and regulators instead of fighting them. Now consider Stellar's XLM. While XRP focuses on institutions, Stellar set its sights on financial inclusion. Billions of people worldwide are underbanked or unbanked, and Stellar offers them access to cross-border remittances, micropayments, and fast, low-cost transfers. Its partnership with MoneyGram and its ability to tokenize assets on-chain make it a grassroots version of Ripple AS institutional play. Both XRP and XLM are ISO 2022 aligned, but they aim at different audiences. One handles the big banks, the other helps everyday people. Another contender is XDC Sinfin. If you've never heard of it, don't underestimate its impact. XDC is built for trade finance, an industry valued in the tens of trillions annually. Think about supply chains, letters of credit, invoices, processes still plagued by paper and bureaucracy. XDC digitizes them, making trade faster, cheaper, and fully compliant with international standards. By aligning itself with ISO 2022, XDC positions as the blockchain banks and corporations can actually use to streamline global commerce. Next comes Algorand, ALGO. Its focus is on tokenization. Real estate, stocks, bonds, commodities. All of these can be represented digitally, traded globally, and settled instantly on Algorand's blockchain. BlackRock and other giants have already shown interest in tokenizing trillions in assets. And Algorand's speed, scalability, and compliance-ready design give it a clear lane in the ISO 2022 ecosystem. Then there's IOTA. Unlike the others, IOTA is less about banking and more about the Internet of Things. Imagine a future where self-driving cars pay for tolls and charging automatically, or your smart fridge orders and pays for groceries on its own. For that to work, you need a protocol that handles billions of feeless microtransactions. That's IOTA's niche. And its compatibility with ISO 2022 means it could integrate directly into the machine-to-machine economy. We can't skip Hedera hash graph, HBAR. Hedera isn't just another blockchain. It uses a unique consensus model and is governed by a council of global corporations, like Google, IBM, and Boeing. Its strength lies in speed, fairness, and efficiency, making it a candidate for central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and enterprise adoption. With ISO 2022 requiring transparency and compliance, Hedera is already working with institutions to ensure it fits seamlessly into the new rails. Finally, there's Quant, QNT. Quant's mission is interoperability. Its overledger technology connects blockchains with each other and with traditional financial systems. In a world where CBDCs, tokenized assets, and private blockchains are all running on different systems, Quant acts as the universal bridge. It doesn't compete, it connects. In the ISO 2022 framework, Quant could be the translation layer that allows every system to talk to every other system. So what makes this group different from the thousands of other coins out there? It's simple: utility and compliance. While most tokens are driven by hype, speculation, or community sentiment, these ISO 2022 aligned assets are designed to solve real problems that banks, governments, and corporations face every single day. They don't just live in crypto exchanges. They are being integrated into the new financial infrastructure itself. This is why investors who understand the shift focus on these coins. When trillions of dollars in payments, settlements, and tokenized assets begin flowing through ISO 2022 rails, the assets ready to carry that load will benefit most. They're not optional. They're required. And as we move into the next section, we'll explore the banks and governments driving this transition, the timelines they've set, the deadlines they've announced, and why this shift is happening faster than most people realize. Section 3, Banks, Governments, and E. The transition timeline. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they hear about ISO 2022 is thinking it as some distant, theoretical upgrade, something the financial world might adopt one day. But here's the truth. The transition isn't just planned, it's already underway. The deadlines are set, the rails are being built, and banks and governments across the globe are racing to catch up. This isn't a conversation about if, it's a conversation about when, and in many cases now. Let's rewind for a second. In March of 2023, the SWIFT network officially began its migration to ISO 2022. For decades, SWIFT has been the backbone of international payments, connecting over 11,000 institutions in more than 200 countries. It moves trillions of dollars a day, but SWIFT's old messaging standard, MT or message type, is outdated. It was built in the 1970s, and it simply cannot handle the speed, transparency, or complexity of the modern digital economy. That's why ISO 2022 is not optional. It's the mandated upgrade. By November 2025, ISO 2022 will become the dominant messaging standard for SWIFT payments. That means every bank connected to SWIFT, which is practically every major bank on Earth, must adapt or be left behind. And SWIFT isn't the only player. The U.S. Federal Reserve, through Fedwire and CHIPS, has also announced its migration to ISO 2022. In Europe, Target 2, the Eurozone's main payment system, has already begun the switch. Even in Asia, major clearinghouses and central banks are aligning their systems to the standard. Now think about what this means. The institutions that move trillions of dollars daily are changing the very language they use to transact. And this isn't happening gradually. It's happening on strict deadlines. Banks don't get to say, we'll think about it in 10 years. If they want to stay connected to the global grid, they have to upgrade now. This is why we're seeing such urgency behind ISO 2022 adoption. But it doesn't stop with commercial banks. Governments and central banks are stepping into the picture with their own digital currencies, CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies. The digital yuan in China, the digital euro in Europe, the pilot programs for a digital dollar in the US. All of these are being built with ISO 2022 compatibility in mind. Why? Because if central banks want their digital currencies to plug into the global economy, they have to speak the same language as SWIFT, Fedwire, and Target 2. ISO 2022 isn't just a standard. It's the ticket of entry into the future financial system. And here's where the timing gets fascinating. According to official timelines, most major economies will be ISO 2022 ready by 2025-2026. SWIFT has already begun live ISO messaging. Fedwire AS migration is slated for full completion by 2025. The Bank of England has outlined its own roadmap. The European Central Bank has moved Target 2 over to the new standard. In other words, the dominoes are already falling. So why does this matter for digital assets? Because once the rails are in place, the system will need assets that can actually keep up. You don't rewire the world's financial backbone just to keep using clunky, outdated settlement methods. You need liquidity tokens that move instantly. You need blockchains that can tokenize assets. And you need connectors that can bridge between systems. And that brings us right back to the ISO 2022 aligned cryptos we covered in Section 2. XRP, XLM, XDC, ALGO, IOTA, HBAR, and QNT. This transition isn't hypothetical. It's enforced by timelines. And when banks and governments are forced to change, they change. If you're an investor, this is the part of the story that should make you sit up straight. Because what you're seeing right now isn't just adoption, it's mandated adoption. And mandated adoption means money is going to move, whether the market is ready or not. By 2030, the old MT messaging system will be completely obsolete. SWIFT has already set that target. That means in less than a decade, the global economy will be running entirely on ISO 2022 rails. And every dollar, euro, yuan, and yen that moves will flow through the new system. Section 4. Why this matters for investors at this point. It is clear that ISO 2022 isn't just some technical standard for bankers to worry about. It's a global shift that will redefine how money moves. But let us pause for a moment and look at it through the eyes of investors. Because this is where the story gets truly compelling. Most of the crypto market today is noise. Thousands of coins exist, many with no clear purpose, no adoption, and no alignment with the systems that actually move the world's value. But the ISO 2022 aligned tokens, they're not just speculation. They're infrastructure. And that makes them fundamentally different. Take XRP, for example. While most of the market focuses on hype cycles, XRP has been quietly tested by banks for years as a settlement mechanism If ISO 2022 is the new language of money, XRP is like the dictionary sitting right beside it, ready to translate liquidity across borders instantly. That's not a meme. That's utility. Investors who understand this know they're not betting on what if. They're aligning themselves with a coin that solves a trillion-dollar problem banks are forced to address. Stellar's XLM offers another example. While it may not have the same institutional weight as XRP, its focus on remittances and financial inclusion solves a real-world pain point. The billions of dollars families lose every year in remittance fees. In a compliant ISO 2022-driven world, those fees vanish, and the liquidity flows through digital assets like XLM. That's not speculation. That's inevitable efficiency, and it's not just payments. Look at XDC's role in trade finance, Algorand's tokenization, Hedera's enterprise adoption, IOTA's machine economy, and Quant's interoperability. Each of these tokens is attached to a multi-trillion-dollar industry vertical. That means they're not simply coins. They're keys. Keys that unlock access to global liquidity, asset settlement, enterprise-grade efficiency, and the future of digital commerce. Now compare that to the average crypto project. Meme coins and hype-driven assets may spike in value when the crowd pours in, but when the music stops, their lack of utility shows. They don't solve real-world problems. They don't integrate with regulators. They don't have a seat at the table when banks and governments lay down infrastructure, and when regulators start cracking down as they already are. It's not the compliant, utility-driven ISO coins that disappear. It's the pretenders. For investors, this should be a wake-up call. The migration to ISO 2022 is happening with or without the crypto community's blessing. It's being driven by banks, clearinghouses, and central banks who move trillions every day. That means the coins that align with this system are not waiting for retail hype to survive. They are being pulled forward by institutional adoption and compliance requirements. Here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Price projections. Analysts already speculate about XRP hitting $5 and $10, even $12 in the short to medium term. That may sound ambitious, but when you step back and consider the scale of liquidity, ISO 2022 will unlock trillions of dollars, moving seamlessly across borders every day. Those numbers no longer seem unrealistic. In fact, they might be conservative. Because once the rails are in place, the volume of money moving through compliant assets will be unlike anything the crypto world has ever seen. For investors holding XRP, XLM, XDC, ALGO, HBAR, IOTA, or QNT, the thesis is simple. These assets don't need to win a popularity contest. They don't need to hope for a viral meme. They simply need to be ready. Ready to serve the roles they were built for when the world's financial backbone finishes its upgrade. And once that moment arrives, demand for them won't just be from retail traders. It will come from banks, governments, and corporations who need them to function. That's why ISO 2022 changes everything for investors. It narrows the field. It filters out the noise. It highlights a small set of assets with structural importance in the next era of money, and it gives anyone paying attention the chance to position themselves before the world realizes what's happening. As we move into the final section, we'll explore what this future looks like. What happens once the rails are fully live, the banks are connected, and the digital assets aligned with ISO 2022 begin carrying real-world liquidity? The answer isn't just about higher prices. It is about a total transformation of how money works on a global scale.
Section 5, the future of money. How this all plays out so far. We've talked about what ISO 2022 is, which digital assets are aligned with it, and why banks and investors alike should care. But let us zoom out and imagine what the world actually looks like once this standard is fully in place. What happens when the pipes are upgraded, the rails are connected, and the tokens that align with ISO 2022 are in position to carry global liquidity? The answer is nothing short of a financial revolution. In the next decade, we will see the tokenization of everything. Real estate deeds, stocks, commodities, bonds, even intellectual property, all represented as digital tokens that can be traded and settled instantly. Today, it can take days to close a real estate deal, weeks to settle a bond trade, or months to resolve cross-border disputes. Under ISO 2022, with compliant digital assets powering the rails, those same processes could take seconds. Imagine an investor in Singapore buying U.S. real estate with instant settlement. or a pension fund in Germany allocating capital to a tokenized infrastructure project in Africa without intermediaries clogging the pipeline. This isn't fantasy. It's the inevitable outcome of a system built for speed, data richness, and interoperability. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, will play a massive role in this future. Over 100 countries are exploring or piloting CBDCs, and nearly all of them are aligning with ISO 2022. Domestic currencies like the digital yuan, digital euro, and potentially a digital dollar will operate on national levels, but they'll all need neutral bridge assets for cross-border liquidity. That's where XRP, XLM, and others step in. CBDCs won't compete with these tokens. They'll rely on them. In fact, Ripple has already partnered with multiple central banks to test this exact framework. Then, there's the rise of the machine economy. Billions of connected devices, cars, appliances, sensors will need to transact with each other in real time. Your electric car will pay the charging station automatically. Your solar panels will sell excess power to the grid. Your fridge could order food and pay for it seamlessly. Assets like IOTA, with its ability to handle billions of feeless microtransactions, become the backbone of this machine-to-machine financial layer. Paired with ISO 2022's standardized messaging, machines won't just communicate, they'll transact. And let's not forget about interoperability. In this future, there won't just be one blockchain to rule them all. There will be thousands of networks, both public and private, all needing to talk to each other and to traditional finance. That's where Quant, with its overledger technology, becomes indispensable. It's the translator ensuring that CBDCs, tokenized assets, and blockchains all plug into the same global operating system. Without that layer, the system fragments. With it, the system thrives. For investors, this vision of the future matters because it answers the biggest question: why will these assets hold value? The answer isn't T, because the community is strong, or because influencers are hyping it. It's because the world's largest institutions, banks, governments, corporations, will need these assets to function. That creates real demand. And when demand is backed by trillions of dollars in daily flows, price appreciation is not a matter of if, it's a matter of scale. The world of 2030 and beyond will look very different from today. Instead of slow wire transfers and siloed banking systems, we'll see instant settlement, programmable money, and a financial system that operates at the speed of the internet. ISO 2022 is the foundation of that system, and the assets aligned with it are the gears that will make it move. This is not speculation. It's the architecture being laid down right now, brick by brick, rail by rail. For those paying attention today, the opportunity is clear. While most of the world sleeps on this transformation, a small group of investors are positioning themselves early, understanding that XRP, XLM, XDC, ALGO, HBAR, IOTA, and QNT aren't just digital tokens. They're the plumbing of the new global economy. And as we close this deep dive, here's the bottom line. The world is changing. The language of money is being rewritten. ISO 2022 is the script, and compliant digital assets are the actors that will bring it to life. The question you need to ask yourself is simple. When the curtain rises on this new era, will you already have a front row seat? Or will you be scrambling to buy a ticket after the show has started?
If this deep dive on ISO 2022 gave you value, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to LTL Productions. Your support helps more than you know, and it lets us keep bringing you the real stories behind crypto and the future of finance. Remember, this isn't financial advice, it's the unfolding story of a new financial system being built before our eyes. Stay tuned, because the ledger never lies and the next chapter of money is only beginning.